if you have been following the channel, you know that we do some fun things, especially in 1v1s, also in other matches obviously, in 2v2s and 4v4s and so on. But in 1v1s, I can really just try experimental things without having to worry about my teammates hating me at the end of the game because it failed. So that's why I kind of jump into these ranked matches, or into any smaller scale games, so that I can try some fun things. Now we are playing with the 2nd Infantry because you guys have actually asked me to play with it because we just don't give it enough love, and I gotta say it is really fun. You actually get some really good units, up to Challenger 2s, you get SAS, you get some riflemen that are really good, there's sniper teams, etc. There's like nice helicopters. So yeah, it's actually really fun to do, or really fun to play with. Now in this one we are playing against Uncle Sam, who's playing at the Unternehmenzentrum. So if you guys didn't know, the Unternehmen can have a forward deployment, meaning that it can spawn much more, you know, further away from the base spawn, which is over here. So he definitely has a upper hand here in terms of spawn location, and he's probably already just spawned inside the town. It's kind of nuts almost. We only have forward deployment with our recon and also with the SAS. So we got 2 squads of SAS moving up to the front. These guys have the 84 and the Stingers, and they are elite units, special forces, shock training, and they have the airborne tag, which enables them to spawn forward. We have a Gazelle recon, and over here I'm doing something interesting. Now we got some of these Gazelle AH1s with rockets. 20 points, but they only have 12 rockets, so they're good for like the initial kind of engagement. And what I'm doing over here is I'm putting an infantry into a helicopter. So an infantry command into a helicopter, and I have another infantry unit, a regular aeromobile, in that helicopter. Now on the left we have a command moving into Charlie, and we have a tracked rapier and 2 warriors with riflemen moving towards the far left flank to basically hold that down. I'm not going to push this time hard into this little place here because he's guaranteed already in there. We can actually go into neutral mode. Yep, there he is. He's already in there, so that's going to hurt quite a bit. Now I will keep it on my point of view for most of the time. Sometimes I will switch to neutral mode, but if I don't keep it in my POV, it's kind of hard to explain what I'm thinking and when I'm thinking it. Now at this point we see some convoys coming up, so I quickly move the Gazelles in. And remember, they only have 12 rockets, so it's basically 1 burst and they are done. So they're really only meant for like 1 quick little engagement, and they've already blown their load basically. Now on the front line we also do have some aeromobiles that are coming in later, so the SAS are basically here just to hold. And the nice thing is they come in Saxons, which have machine guns. Now MiG-23 is being called in for a 20-point helicopter, which is a little bit overkill, and definitely risky since this guy is, you know, like 7 times more expensive. So it's a little bit overkill there. Almost 8 times more expensive actually. So we have the SAS on the front, unfortunately getting stunned, so I call or fall back with these guys, and I am getting a supply truck up here to hopefully resupply these guys. And I need to be very careful with my infantry, because he definitely has the better units. Now we lose 2 Gazelles here. I do call in a Harrier GR3. Decent, yeah, I mean it's not really a good plane. 115 points though, really cost effective. And it has AIM-9L sidewinders, which are really accurate. And with that we take out a 155 point helicopter. And the only thing we lost were 2 rocket helis? No, 3. We've lost all 3, but that's only 60 points. Now at this point, I'm trying to do something sneaky. I got my command infantry moving up together with 1 aeromobile unit, because usually they don't really defend the flanks. So I'm going to try to pop my command in there and capture the Delta spawn point. Speaking of spawn point, we have put a command into this zone here. This is not a spawn point, just to neutralize it. But at this point he is +2 because he holds 2 zones completely and is contesting the other one, while I only basically have 1 zone captured and contest 1. So he gets a full +2 from capturing the left one alone. Yeah, once again he is forward deployed, so it's kind of hard to contest him early on. You kind of need to build up your forces, not to panic. Don't worry about the plus, it can be +10 for all I care, but you need to just take your time and play it the smart way. Now at this point I just move the airmobiles up on the front, and something amazing actually happens here. We get countered by a Shilka in the forest. A little bit of a problem, you could definitely say. The helicopter is determined to make it into position. Unfortunately, it crashes, but the aeromobiles survive. Amazingly, they survive. I was actually kind of surprised. Now I do fall back with the command because I'm not going to risk that with a command. There's quite a high likelihood of that failing. Now at this point he has some Fallschirmjägers and SPG teams with a recoilless rifle firing at my sniper team who's trying to just survive. Luckily that misses and we get into the forest and we are nicely hidden. We are still within range and in his line of sight. We just have a good enough stealth. As soon as we stand still, our stealth actually... does it become better? Yeah, +1 stealth level and accuracy bonus when not moving. So we went from... we went to exceptional stealth, basically. Isn't it already exceptional, though? I'm not quite sure. At this point, we have some army rifles. They are not bad. They got 2 of these L86 machine guns. They are not heavy calibers. They're or large calibers, just 5.56. But having 2 of them definitely helps. Now over here, he also has a Metis team. I quickly move in the warriors to try to stun it as much as possible. We are lucky that he misses that. But somehow we managed to stun it, so that kind of saved us there. I just take both of my warriors and focus fire on the Metis team there, down to his last man, and with that we also destroy that one. Now we have supplies here finally in the town. Aeromobiles, SAS units, Terrier Pioneers, which have the satchel charge, so they're really only for close range. And we have our supply truck in the back. And the good thing about a command is these units are getting a veterancy bonus from the command. Now I don't want to move them up too much, because we need to at least keep the status quo here. Now at this point we see a lot of units, Wachschutzen, Metis teams, Fallschirmjägers, even BMPs that we luckily quickly took care of. We do have an M48 here who miraculously is able to fire into that group, so that is actually a really good place for your tanks there. I would recommend it. Look at that, that is just disastrous. Now we lose a Saxon, that's just a Saxon, that's fine. SAS and Terrier Pioneers are going to fall back because they're quite hurt. And they're going to get resupplied and refitted with more man. There's some body parts in the supply trucks, so they're going to get fixed up basically. Now these guys though are still on in a good, you know, overall physical and mental position. So I'm moving them up a little bit more in order to basically take the brunt of the assault here. Now you don't want to get too close to these guys. The Pioneers, I think they're already out of rockets in the RPOs, and this one, the AG1 or AGI. So I can move up a little bit closer, so that's why I kind of moved up these guys. These guys ate all of those RPOs. Now over here we also have a Terrier Pioneer firing with the L4A4 LMG, doing a decent amount of damage on them. And at this point we also call in some artillery. We got these 105mm, which are really fast firing. The salvo length is also 6. The rate of fire is 8 rounds per minute. And the aiming time is not too bad either, 16 seconds. That is actually really good. Now we move some aeromobiles up on the flank, just to get a nice crossfire going. The Saxon is immediately destroyed, unfortunately. But with that, we're slowly but surely kicking Uncle Sam out of the zone. Now as you can see, these SAS are back on health. The Terrier Pioneers aren't yet, they're just a little bit too stunned. But the SAS can move back up. So that is really important. If you're doing an infantry fight, you want to bring in a supply truck, at least one supply truck. Like one with 1,000 supplies is actually really good. Now the Mi-24D comes in, absolutely trashes the aeromobiles. I do try to fall back with them. There's also a MiG-21 BIS coming up with a bombing run on the aeromobiles, basically destroying that unit as well. And there's a fresh convoy of units coming in, but he plays a little bit carefully with them. He puts them into that tree line. There's a couple man-pads in that group, but also a lot of machine guns, so he's kind of just setting up a good firing position over there. Now the SAS with the Stingers are highly accurate. The base the accuracy is 55%, but for a Stinger that is actually not bad, and we managed to hit 2 in a row. Especially because the SAS is special forces and all that, it helps with its accuracy. Now on the right side, we're trying to do it again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So I did a push already to his flank. So I'm expecting him to have that flank much more protected, maybe a recon heli or something. So what I'm doing is I got 2 Gazelle rockets, which really only have enough rockets to take on 1 unit. They're 60 points total. And then we have 2 ATGM helis in the back, which is another 160. So we got 240 points of helis there. And what I'm doing here is I'm just resupplying my helicopter that has a command in it. And then that is going to try to capture that zone behind all these helis. Because as things are going, we are taking over this territory. But for us to gain points, we need to assault another territory. Which is probably going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Because especially against Unternehmen with all these BMPs and stuff, he simply just has better units. So it's kind of rough. He also has the IFE bonus here. You can tell from the chain link here. They take less suppression in combat when near one of these vehicles. So that actually helps quite a lot. Now there's also an Mi-24, I think that's the AA variant, I'm not quite sure. Yep, Mi-24D. Luckily we have SAS to quickly take that down. We get 2 immediate hits by the SAS. It's just wonderful units to use. I'm kind of starting to become a fan. And we get 3 clean hits. And we take that helicopter out. Beautiful infantry to use, and it might actually turn into one of my more favorite battle groups to use. Now the M48s are super cheap, 70 points. I mean, horrible armor, but you're mainly just using this for its rate of fire, which is 9, which is awesome. That's just really cool, actually. That's actually really good. A decent range, but I'm just using it for the HE and the suppression. So this right here is the exact reason I'm using these. M48s have like a sliver of line of sight there. But that is exactly enough to blast some of these units. We move another M48 in. And that actually hits really beautifully as well. And the Milan 2 takes out the BMP-1 PG. And with that, we also finish off the 7.62 machine gun. Now at this point, if I just do this little push with helicopters, we're going to lose all of them. He's probably going to spawn in planes. So we need to get like a good AA net situated. Now I call in the Rapier FSAs. These guys have 60% accuracy. 60% accuracy. That is one of the best AA pieces, in my opinion, for that price. Really good range for helicopters, so any Okulas or whatever can forget it, and also pretty decent range on aircraft. Now the only downside is, it's like a tripod AA basically, so they have to move it manually, or you need to attach it to the truck again. That kind of looks really nice. That's the only downside, so if you want to, you know, be mobile with your AA, it might not be the best one to use, since they're also easy to counter. You also have the tracked Rapier, which is obviously the tracked version of it, but it has 5% less accuracy. Other than that, it's basically the same. Okay. Now at this point, we're doing our main push. We got 3 of these M105s, or 105 millimeters, firing at the flank, but it is smoke to block the line of sight of his AA that he might have there, but also to block the line of sight of everything else once we start landing our troops, because they actually block quite a bit of vertical line of sight as well, not just, you know, from ground to ground, but when your helicopters are up in the air at a lower altitude, they are completely hidden. Now I'm not the only one using artillery. Here has a Buratino that is going to delete my center line here. That is going to cost me quite a lot of reinforcements. But unfortunately for him, he's not following that up with a decent push. He just has some pioneers that are really better in the forest. They're just kind of just attack move, and then I guess he's banking on the RPOs or the AG1s to do plenty of damage to my infantry. But maybe he also thought that most of my infantry was in here, and that's kind of why he pushed up. Now the Mi-24P there is not really going to be a huge problem. Now the smoke is landing, but his AA has moved up into this little area here. But luckily these helicopters are relatively cheap, so they're taking the brunt of the assault. Some of these AH-1s are managing to stun one of the Shilkas. We also have the Lynx AH-7s firing ATGMs at them, the Itos. And basically, I'm just trying to keep his AA busy while our main plan is developing. Now there's an Su-24 over there, but we call in 2 GR-3s to escort our helicopters. Now there's a MiG-23 coming in, but I'm not going to have it. We're quickly taking that out with the M9s, with the really good sidewinders, and we managed to land our command into the zone. And as you can see, the smoke is covering us. Otherwise, he would have a tank here that could fire at our Jaeger, and we wouldn't really be able to do much with it. So I got really lucky there. I'm quickly moving this guy up. He doesn't have another command in here, which is also a little bit of a problem for him. I also don't do that, but if you're seeing that the enemy is pushing your flank quite hard, you might want to keep a command in there. Because now I can spawn units in. Now what I do is I call in another command, and this guy I'm just moving into the hills here, just as a backup in case he finds this command and kind of neutralizes it. So I quickly call in some army rifles. We got 2 of those guys moving up. We're going to set up a position right here. The smoke is still coming in, mainly just to give us, you know, a little bit more cover out in the open, especially against units like a T-55. We get a really nice AT-gem or AT hit on them. And we get the IFV bonus as well from the surviving warrior, although I am moving in a little bit dangerously with him. Luckily, the M72 Law is good enough to take him out. Now at this point, I'm also preparing for a push here, because if you just push one zone, you're going to get pushed out. But the great thing about this is, it keeps a lot of its units busy, and he has to commit quite a few units here, including a command to neutralize it. Now at this point, our warrior does get hit by an AT gem, but somehow he survives, and this is why I like warriors. The BMP-1 piece forgot AT gem with 16 penetration actually doesn't one-tap the warrior, which is pretty nice. And the same thing is true for units like the Bradley. You can actually survive a hit to the front with some units, including tanks, by the way. Including tanks that don't have a high enough penetration, you can actually survive a shot to the face. Now the warrior over here finishes off the Shilka. We have AA coming up, some tracked rapiers and a rapier FSA. So that is a really highly accurate AA piece. And we just call in a tracked rapier just for some more mobility. So that worked out really beautifully. We keep our Harriers up here as a quick, you know, reaction force in case he calls in some planes. But we are not going to stop. We're not going to stop our push here. Now the artillery is just trying to panic some of these units here while we do a push. And we're moving up our infantry nice and quickly to the edge of the town. Now one of our warriors gets doinked, the other one is on 1 HP. Probably should have fallen back with him. But at this point we have more warriors on the right side. A total of 5 warriors. Which is quite an awesome sight to behold. Look at that. With the 30mm cannons and the IFV bonus that they give pretty much everyone, it is awesome. Now the Mi-24 VP does fire an AT-gem at him. We just quickly create a smoke wall. And with that, that push is quickly halted. Now we're also just moving the rapier FSAs up. And this is a good thing to do if you're using a lot of these kind of units, is to turn off the auto sale option right here, which means that empty trucks or empty transports that don't have a weapon aren't automatically going to go back to base and sell. And you want that because sometimes you want to quickly move your howitzers up, and otherwise these guys are just going to keep on trying to sell themselves, and you don't want that. Now at this point we spot the Buratino. I'm not quite sure what spotted him, probably our massive infantry over here, to be honest. I quickly get a cluster plane to finish that off, because if that fires again, we could be in trouble. If that fires right here, we kind of lose 50% of all of our units there. So the Jaguar GR1, really good cluster bomber, comes in and destroys, absolutely annihilates the Buratino. And the good thing about these cluster bombs is the spread of them. They have a really tight spread, meaning basically all 4 of those cluster bombs are going to hit the same target, and you can be guaranteed to destroy whichever tank you target that way. Now at this point we move in our Terrier Pioneers with the satchels and the army rifles. I just call them army rifles. I don't actually know what they mean. But Riflemen and the Pioneers together are a really nice combo. You get both ATs, you get 3 machine guns basically. And they're a pretty nice combo there. Now all these warriors are just chilling. Initially I thought he had like AT-gem infantry here. I didn't really see the VP. But the warriors are kind of just hanging out. Now over here, obviously, we are getting pushed hard. He has now recaptured, or at least neutralized the zone. And we basically can't spawn in anything there anymore. So we have to make do with what we got. One thing that we have, though, is long-range artillery. And what we're going to use these guys for is to smoke off certain sections of the map. The SAS barely makes it out of that bombing run. But unfortunately, for the SAS, the Motorstrelki are going to finish those guys off. So they're not having the best time there. They are very resilient though. They survive for such a long time. I love it. Now the tracked rapiers over here, and the rapier FSA, does manage to shoot down that plane. So that was a really good call in. And we are just microing our units to smithereens. I can obviously not reinforce it unless I do it with airborne infantry. So if he wants to really take this place back, he gotta be more aggressive and start pounding the area. Now him having a command in here and the zone not being captured by him obviously means that I still have a command in here. One thing that he could do is move maybe a recon heli or something, or then again I have AA, or have some form of recon on the ground to quickly spot it and take it out, because I am gaining with +2. Now the SAS together with Rifleman, amazing combo, but at range I am going to struggle quite a bit, and he does the right thing by moving his BMP back. But what I do next is to smoke off this area and basically neutralize his range advantage. Now MiG-21 Biz once again calls in. I have my rapiers over there firing away at him. I also have my planes that spawned in, and they're going to be once again tasked with keeping like a no-fly zone over on the right side. Now that plane did get out. We did luckily get a good hit in on him though, so I'm not too worried. Now an Mi-24 VP encountering my Jaeger squads. Unfortunately for the Jaegers, the rockets and the 23mm on it are going to just go ham on our infantry. But somehow the Jaeger are actually managing to hold off. I am actually impressed. And they managed to stun the Mi-24 with the MG3 and the G3s. Now the G3 is 762, the MG3 is also 762, so it does a massive amount of suppression. That is really, really good. So 30 and 25 suppression. Meanwhile, we have these guys with 10 suppression on the assault rifles. Now, I don't know how it actually... Well, we have 10 of those here. But yeah, in general, huge amount of suppression. We quickly move the Harrier GRs in to take out that Mi-24. And we move to the right side in order to get any incoming planes to fly over our rapiers. And that is working like a charm. So these guys are on attack move. One of the rapiers is out of ammo. But the track rapier is unfortunately disappointing a little bit there. Luckily, it does get a hit in. And the MiG-23 is actually badly damaged. And he moves straight in front of our Harriers, which just pummel him with Sidewinders. Now on the left side here, we are moving up into this zone, Bravo. We have it nicely smoked off. We have regular Jaegers on the front, and we have Pioneers with the satchel charges in the back. So these guys are tasked with unloading right here. And then we have Pioneers that are going to unload at the same place. Now these warriors moved over here. Now since I cleared up this area, he doesn't usually, or people don't usually cover these buildings, so I made use of it by just moving my warriors through, and they are going to be in a blocking formation. Meaning they are going to just be situated here in order to cut off his reinforcements while I do a push on the zone. So we're using a lot of good strategies here. Now unfortunately for our strategy, one thing that it doesn't have is AA. So we lose 3 of the 5 warriors in quick succession to the Su-22 M4s. Now over here, I do lose a transport or two because I simply want to just get close enough so that these guys with the satchel charges can immediately start doing damage. So I lose, I believe, 2 transports before they manage to unload. Yeah, we lost the Jaeger squad immediately and one of these Pioneer squads immediately. So yeah, that's kind of bad. That is kind of bad. A third of our forces were already doinked before they managed to get in. Actually, we might have lost 2. Yeah, we lost 2 Terrier Pioneers. So we lost quite a few men trying to just get into this. And that is why I didn't do it in the beginning, because if I did this, it would just completely bomb it, and I wouldn't have enough units on the right side. Speaking of the right side, this is just completely dug in. We got supplies. We also have a command moving up to the right to try to neutralize that zone. On the right side, we have a lot of issues incoming. We have T-55s, a lot of transports with units coming up. We managed to move through the smoke and get into the next part of the zone, because now we're in slightly better cover, thanks to all the tree lines here. Now I get in a fresh reinforcement here since we don't have the zone, so I have to call in some airborne units. We get the airmobiles coming in. We have a Gazelle Recon keeping an eye on the enemy. The only thing we lack here is AT gems. But not to worry, we have planes. And we're finally making use of our Air Force after we managed to neutralize quite a few of his. So the airmobiles are landed. They're going to start doing some damage. We got this bomber coming in with 2,000 kilograms of bombs. Luckily for him, it misses most of the Jaeger units. But we also have a cluster coming in to try to finish off a command that might be in the zone. But luckily for him... Wait, did we actually get it? Wow, okay, we were just off target. I had no idea he was actually in there. But you can kind of judge or determine where he is just by looking at the front line. If it's like this, it basically means he's in the middle. If the red, if his zone was pushed more here and less here, it basically means he's in that corner. And we just missed him by a hair. That was close. Now with that, we are +6 because we now have captured the left zone here. We can put it in neutral mode now. We have our M113s with the MG3s suppressing them while our infantry is just taking care of things. Su-22 cluster comes in, does not take out the rover CP because it misses it and drops bombs on its flank. That sucks, my dude. I am very sorry for that one. Yeah, that was kind of rough. Helicopters going back to base to get sold. And with that, we have a decent position around our command. He initially thought that my command was in this corner, but I quickly moved it down here. And if that even gets found, we have another command that I'm kind of moving up on the hills just to keep there as a backup. Now, airmobiles are really, really nice, especially with the dual L86. Not the most amazing weapon, but that, you know, it's actually not too bad. Aiming and shooting on the move. But that's pretty good too. You can actually fire those on the move. Can you do that with the MG3? That's what I want to know. Let's quickly have a look here at some Jaeger units. Nope. So the MG3 can only be fired when stationary. Now with that, you can obviously tell that we are in a good position here. We're probably not going to lose any sector anytime soon, but that is basically when I saw some T-55s pop up. But on the left side, we're not continuing with our advance, and that is one of the most important things to remember, is to, if you have the upper hand, keep pushing. Because if you give him time, he's going to build up and he's going to contest your zones again. So we quickly get 2 Chinook supplies just to get all of our guys back on health and ammunition. And over here, we are going to keep a machine gun squad and 2 of our riflemen. We're going to keep that at the main entrance of the town just to destroy any infantry that tries to come in. Now at this point, our bombers are almost done reloading, so that is kind of bad timing for him. And we also have our GR3s that are keeping us nice and comfortable. Now the riflemen here and the SAS did get pummeled by all of the T-55s. The building is now fully destroyed. But if I move back, I'm basically going to be out in the open here. But we don't really have a choice now, do we? Now at this point, we call in the GR3s to keep a nice coverage of anti-air. Again, Jaguars and Harriers, they're really not great. The bombers are actually not too bad, since they're nice and quick. But in general, the Air Force only consists of basically Sidewinders. Now with this bombing run, we get a nice cluster strike, taking out 2 tanks. The HE takes out another one and mortally wounds the last one. And we have a Lynx AH-7 that is now going to finish the job with its ITOs, if it manages to actually hit its target. Which it might not. Oh, there goes another one. So with that, that is game. So we pulled off something that usually isn't really done in this game, and it, from my opponent's POV, it was called cheesy. But I want to know your opinion. Was it cheesy? Was this a cringe strategy? I pushed the same flank twice. The first push should have probably let him know that he needed to invest into a little bit more recon, maybe some manpads or something, or just AA in general, because he really lacked AA over there. Or if you notice the enemy pushing your flank with helicopters, maybe put a command in there so that he can't capture the spawn point. That is also something I would definitely recommend. But let me know in the comment section, please, if you thought this was not cool. Because if it wasn't cool, I won't do it again. Because I really don't want to discourage someone from playing the game or give them a bad time or anything like that. But in general, I really enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed this as well. Let's just go through our kill list here. So 1 Harrier taking down 2 MiG-23s. The SAS just being a Chad here, taking out a plane and the MiG-24. The machine guns doing the Lord's work. The M48 actually getting some hits in too. The Warrior that we had on the right side in a spawn took out the Shilkas. And man, SAS are just wonderful to play with. It's definitely one of the most interesting infantry battle groups to play with, for sure. Now that was our ranked match playing as the 2nd Infantry? Was it? Yep, 2nd Infantry. Really interesting battle group. I definitely recommend you guys to check this out. You get Challenger 2s, which we didn't even spawn in. You get so many really cool units. Even like ATGMs and yeah, really good artillery as well, the 175s. So definitely recommend it. Go check it out. If you enjoyed it, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys back soon. Take care.